Welcome to Exhuming the Truth, the podcast where we delve into mysterious worlds of cold cases, missing persons, true crime, and fascinating science that is forensics. I'm forensic scientist and criminologist Asha Walther, and I am so thrilled to have you with me on this journey as we dance in the shadows of the world of crime, shining a light on scientific discovery while becoming another voice for those who need it most. So grab a drink and get comfortable while we jump into this episode together. Welcome back, everybody. I'm again a day late. Lucky for those who hate housekeeping, I'm actually skipping housekeeping today because I have a bit to go through and I'm going overseas next week on Thursday evening. So I'm actually really unhappy to be flying away from everything that is going on here at the moment, and really hope that I'm able to switch off for a few days and come back with a bit of a fresh mind. But today's episode is called Searching for Rob Snyder. Now, in today's episode, we have a current and active missing persons case in Perth that we have touched on in the podcast briefly. However, since doing active searches and also getting a lot more information, we now have enough substance for a full episode, and we have about 1 million comments and messages about this case on our Facebook account and TikTok account, and honestly, I am drowning keeping up. So I would absolutely love if everyone can redirect others to this episode so that they can familiarize themselves, because 9 times out of 10, I think the answer to your question is going to be in here. And if it's not, then we will try to help you and do our best. So let's get right on into it. So victimology, I have put together a really in-depth and decent victimology for this for my own search benefit, but I've actually just pulled out the essential bits and pieces from that profile so that I can remind you of all the minute details before I get into the timeline. So we're talking about Robert John Snyder. Now, he's age 62. Now, Robert and his wife Rosalind had 2 residences, okay? So their main place of residence is in Melville, and then they have a second home in Heron, which is, of course, down near Mundijong. Now, Rob has been described by his friends and family as a respected engineer, a loving husband, a father, a grandfather, and he was actually planning his retirement, which would be coming up, and he was going to spend that time building and working on cars with his grandchildren. Now, he stands physically at around 180 centimetres tall, and he is of a medium build and has blue eyes. Now, I'm going to go into the timeline as we know it in the definitive way, or so to speak. Now, at around 8:30 a.m. on Friday, the 24th of October, Rob Snyder was seen by his wife Rosalind around this time at their home address in Melville. Now, he had actually packed an overnight bag which contained a change of clothes, a diary, a journal, and that was about all. He was getting ready to spend the evening at their second address in Heron. Now, he did not have bank cards or of such on him at the time. He had a little bit of cash, but he did not have his mobile phone. Now, come 11:38 a.m. and then AMPR, which I keep going on about on the internet, and people are like, what are you talking about? When I'm saying AMPR, I am standing for, it stands for, and I am saying, that was a cross between, automatic number plate recognition. So please keep that in mind. Now, the number plate recognition on Stock Road picked him up at 11:38 a.m. He was travelling southbound, and that was near Leach Highway. Now, come 12:10 p.m., the AMPR on Thomas Road, which is after the Nicholson Road roundabout, heading eastbound. So if you're familiar with the area, which I am, it's about 2 minutes away from me, there is a equestrian centre called Stella Equestrian there on your left if you're travelling eastbound after the Nicholson Road intersection. And there is a power pole which has the AMPR on it. You can find pictures of that on our Facebook, but I will repost them. Now, that picked him up at 12:10 p.m, again heading eastbound. Now, there were no sightings of Rob after this, no AMPR after this time, and it's presumed by the police that at this point he remained in his vehicle And the police and the family are considering Oakford and the surrounding areas the key areas in the search. The vehicle in question that was caught on the cameras was his vehicle, which is a 2015 white Subaru Forester with the license plate 1, G for grape, Q for queen, J for joker, 931. Now, his family actually expressed that this behaviour is very out of character for Rob, and they hold serious welfare concerns for him and fear that he's had a mental health crisis. So along with the no sightings, there's been no activity on his bank accounts or alike, and like I said earlier, he didn't have his mobile phone on him either. Now, this is what I've noted down so far regarding police involvement. Obviously, he has been reported as missing. Now, they have checked both residences of the Snyder family, so that being Melville and Heron. Now, the couple were looking to purchase a property in the Oakford Cardup area, and one of those properties was 220 Cardup Road. I'm really hoping that's how you pronounce it. That's how I've been saying it since I've moved here, and my GPS woman, Karen, on my car, she says something else, which I can't remember, but anyway. So the police actually did look at all the properties that they have looked at as well and checked and cleared those. They've also checked the AMPR on all major roads, which they did say, yeah, keep this in mind. Now, they said that all major roads in the area do have AMPR. So I actually did drive down Thomas Road after that AMPR camera eastbound, and the next AMPR camera is at the intersection of Thomas and Tonkin if you were jumping on Tonkin heading north. Now, that is a new one, and I imagine a reliable one. They also checked all other major intersections. They checked the local shops like Mundijong, Serpentine, Jarrahdale, things like that for their footage. They checked service stations for their footage. They checked the properties they were interested in, like I said. And they basically ended up saying to the family that they suggest that he didn't take any main roads for quite a period of time. So by that, I mean he didn't jump on a main road and stay on that road. He might have jumped on one to cross where there's no cameras, but they had no footage of him being on any main roads. What I'm unsure about in regards to the police is the service stations. What service stations did they check? This is one of my biggest questions, and we'll talk about why shortly. Now, as far as limitations in this search go, obviously, if you're familiar with this area, if you're not, jump on maps and then jump on Google Earth. Is that what it's called? And you'll be able to see where I'm about 5 minutes from Thomas Road. I go to this intersection a couple of times a week to get my horse food. Takes me like 10 minutes. And it gets quite rural. So limitations here are the dense bushland for one, rural areas, large search zone, and the AMPR reliance, which again we'll chat about shortly. Now, I want to clarify a couple of things because there's been a lot of questions and suggestions and things like that, so we'll do that. First, I want to clarify, I am independent, so I don't work for the government, I don't work for anyone, I run this business, and it is me, myself, and I do have a wonderful and amazing friend who assists, and I do have 2 other people who will be signing on shortly when we get approved for the not-for-profit, and they will be taking kind of secretary roles. And I also have an amazing, incredible man named Simon, who is a digital security worker, and he's been doing some amazing work on a couple of our cases as well. But as far as it goes, I'm an independent person. So in saying that, I work as a forensic scientist and a criminologist, and I specialise in missing persons, cold cases, and systemic injustices, which you've probably heard me say a million times. But while I do have the power to access a lot of information that the general public can't, I do not hold the same power of police or government where I can look people up in a sense, or go into a service station or request CCTV footage, or call in external forces as such, or people kind of commenting and suggesting, oh, have you thought about calling, these person, or have you notified this person? It's actually the police's job to do that. And the only time I would step in and do that is if this would become a long-term missing persons case, which is after the 3-month mark, and then I would get authority to communicate from the family, and then I would do that for them. But it's actually the police's role, and they have detectives to do that. Whether they do it or not, that's their thing. But yeah, to clarify, I'm independent. It is me. I'm not taking over from their investigation. I'm totally independent. So I just wanted to make that as clear as daylight. Now I'm going to read a really long list of roads, streets, and what have you that we have personally covered. Now by we, I mean myself and my partner and my kids who have been joining in, helping out. And I've had a couple of community volunteers who have been incredible and sent to me the places they have covered as well. And we have also had a couple of drones going out. So this is the general area. I may have missed a road or two, but I'll do my best. Now, if you can note down that these are all in the Oakford, Cardup, Albury, Serpentine, Jarrahdale, Hopeland, Keysbrook areas. So we have Hopelands Road, Gull Road, Row Road, Hall Road, Cardup Siding, Thomas Road, Cargotich Road, both north and south, Cargotich residential streets, that means I have covered all of them, Abernethy, Nicholson, Boddington Mine, which was covered by the police, Alcoa, which was also covered by police. Those are two old work areas from Rob Snyder's family that they informed us of, Carnup Road, Boomerang, King Road, Leopold, Gossage Road, off-track roads we did from Kings Road next to the train line, Jackson Road, Admiral Road, including the four-wheel drive tracks off Admiral Road, Kingsbury Road, we covered that entire road, as well as I think 4 or 5 off-road tracks. We're going to do more of those on the weekend. Fisher Road, Rapids Road, Lowlands Road, Byford Meadows Drive, Rowley Road, Forest Road, Scarp Road, a few tracks off Scarp Road, Day Road, Serpentine Dam and Reserve, Watkins Road, Wright Road, Summerfield Road, Cougley Road, Shanley Road, Lightbody Road, Soldiers Road, Bishop Road, Robertson Road, Orton Road in both directions, all residential streets in suburban parts of Oakford, Ankertel and Wandie, as well as residential Mundijong. Now, I'm out of breath. For some more recent updates from the family. Now, we've spoken to them today and we got a couple of updates which are kind of essential. Now, essentially they told us that they do believe that Rob was having some trouble with his mental health at the time just due to a lot of external pressures in life. We all know what life's like. It can get really super heavy a lot of the time, and work and other bits and pieces. And while this kind of behaviour in these episodes are definitely out of the ordinary for him, he did actually recently have another episode where he was kind of regressing to his younger years, where he was back when he was 3 to 4 years old. And that's basically all the kind of detail I got around that. They did also tell me that the police did have their plane up, but they don't have a set search area. They also said on the 25th of October, the police put the pole air up, but again, that returned nothing. Now, Rob was also known to camp when he was younger in the areas of Pinjarra, North Dandalup, Byford, Jarrahdale areas, and also used to take the kayak out and dwelling up. Now, my next part of information that I discovered yesterday was on my independent search day 5, which was not amazing, okay? While I have no regrets in the areas that I've searched, it's better to cover hotspots, and by hotspots I mean all the spots closest to where he was last seen first and then branch out. Often we do that and we branch out in a particular pattern. Here it was really hard to do that. However, police had told us that they did search all main roads and all main roads had AMPR. So we were under the impression that all main roads had AMPR. Unfortunately, yesterday I was really quite drained because come midday, mid-search, we were in contact and were told that the AMPR is actually not, frequent, I'd like to say, on these major roads. So I'm starting to think, what the hell? like here I am thinking, you know, you've got set ones maybe at major intersections and things like that on Southwestern Highway. And a couple of days prior, my partner and I did find a portion of Southwestern Highway where he could have crossed over to the eastern side of that road. And that's dangerous territory because that's super dense bushland. And that's why we did take Kingsbury Drive out there and Serpentine Dam, and we did do off-road tracks there and had no luck. But like I said, we are going back there because there was a lot more potential for off-road tracks there. So I took it upon myself to take the drive from the start of Southwestern Highway from Armidale south, and I noted down all the areas that did not have AMPR. And by this I mean I literally wrote down every single power pole that was there that did not have a camera on it. So in hindsight, I probably should have just written where there was one, but I kind of wanted to be super thorough, and it wasn't great, guys. I was like, it knocked me down a bit yesterday because I thought, oh, shit, have I spent too much time in the immediate area where we've got a lot of the community looking? But then I thought, you know, don't think like that. It's good to have as many eyes as possible in these areas. We can just reroute and come up with a new plan. Now, I'll get back to that in a minute. First, I'm going to talk to you about potential clues if I can get the answers. So, fuel range. Now, if the police checked all the service stations, and I'm talking like all the service stations, which, yes, would have obviously CCTV to capture him going past, but they would also have the footage to see if he actually stopped to refuel at any service station at any point. In particular, I'm more concerned about service stations between Melville and Thomas Road, because I was told by a member of the family that he was low-ish on fuel, like he didn't have, you know, a full tank or anything like that. And this would be great to know because it's going to give us a bit of a radius to work with, which is the most important thing right now. And it's roughly 35 to 40 kilometres from Melville to this intersection of Thomas Road and Nicholson Road. And I'm, again, unsure if between Melville and Thomas Road he went and refueled. Now, the typical Subaru Forester's fuel tank is give or take 63 litres for the non-hybrid models, and that's what his was. It was non-hybrid, and the fuel consumption for a petrol Forester is around 7.4 litres per 100 Ks. Why am I telling you this? Because on half of a tank, that would be give or take 31.5 litres of fuel, and in consumption terms, that is 7.4 litres per 100 kilometres. So a simple 31.5 divided by 7.4 times 100 is 426 kilometres. So that's quite a big range of roughly 420 to 430 kilometres, give or take, of course, considering the driving conditions. So that could really substantially increase the radius if we had that information. Sorry for the tangent. Oh, wow, yeah, sorry for that. Someone is riding a dirt bike down my street. Yeah, sorry for the tangent, but if we had that information, it would be so crucial for our radius, which would be just amazing. I just want to also say that the internet has gone absolutely nuts, which is great, and I love that so much because the more people that are seeing and sharing, the more opportunity there is for information. And for us as a business, and the community that we're trying to build and kind of bring out of the woods, which is exactly what's happening. It's an important opportunity for us as Exhuming the Truth to step in and shine this light, or so to speak, and use the means that we do have and the education and qualifications that I have to help the family find Rob. I want to say with this, it's very heavy because we do everything and we are at no cost at all to anyone ever. And this is predominantly why we have that not-for-profit application in progress at the moment, because it's just simply not viable for me to run this, putting all of my time and my energy into everything every day, because it does take a toll on me in many, many ways. Like I said yesterday, I was really upset with myself yesterday for just taking the word of the police that they had the cameras and they were there. Also, by the way, while we're talking about the cameras, a tiny little insert. I did have a member messaged me on the business page letting me know they work on those AMPR cameras and they are not always accurate. So I just want to put that in there. Anyway, now it helps a lot when people read to keep up to date or listen before asking the same questions over and over again, which I know it's not ideal, but if you go onto our page, you'll be able to scroll through in the right order and read or listen or what have you. Messaging is another huge one because we're averaging around 130 messages a day, and that's a lot. And a lot of those are just simple answers that you can find on the page or the website, because if I'm not answering it, someone does jump on and kind of do that for me, which is amazing, and thank you to those people. Anyway, obviously I love when people message me, but at the moment, especially when there's active missing persons case on, I can't just message for a simple chat, I guess. Now, the psychics and that type of people who are messaging in that, I just do not have the time to respond to the same thing like that over and over again. I do not work with psychics or anything like that. This is just not the place for them. I currently actually have 27 cases that I'm working on or / with right now, and I do have to give everyone my equal attention, and I can't do that with 100 or 130 or whatever the figures were messages per day. So my biggest suggestion is to open conversations on the group. So not on the Facebook page. We have the Exhuming the Truth podcast Pod Squad group. You can find that, just type it in, or the link is in the podcast notes, and I'll approve you straight away. I'm pretty quick on it. Otherwise, my lovely friend Josh, who is the editor and moderator, he will do that. And I strongly encourage you to open conversation or ask questions there, because if, like, I can answer in my own time, but there's usually others that can answer. Otherwise, Josh will be there as well, and he's always very quick onto it. Also, while on the internet, topic of conversation, obviously this is a given, but speculation is just always super unhelpful. And my page in particular, wow, she's losing it. My page, or all my pages basically on social media, are followed by family and friends of the cases that we're covering, and it really, really hurts them. And it hurts to even have a family member in distress or missing or what have you, let alone have to read kind of speculative comments about their own loved ones from strangers on the internet. So I do have a zero tolerance policy on this, as you know, and I know I say it all the time, and I'm a bit of a wet cloth today because I've been working so hard. But I really ask everyone to continue, what you're doing. It's most of you are great. I'm just, putting it out there. Constructive conversation, of course, is always welcome. We love that. Again, maybe in the group for like chats would be great. Like if you want to have a discussion, the group is a great idea. I honestly don't know why it's never occurred to me to suggest this before, but I think because I have so much going on at the moment, that I've kind of resorted back to my group. We're the one page that I have help with by Josh. So he's a great help and really quick to get back to people and super on top of it as well. What else? If you could seriously see my desk, I literally just had to have a little break because I was about to say you should see, if you could only see my desk right now, which turned into a bit of a song and dance. Anyway, I did cover today Utley Road, Punrack Road, and Hopelands Road. So that's all south of Cardup Road. My horses are on Cardup Road, so I go down there every day anyway. What I asked people to keep an eye out for are obviously hidden spots. Now, the other piece of information I forgot to mention was that there is, how do I word it? The family could be of an opinion that he might not want to be found. And when we're talking about this, again, we're not talking about speculation or why or how, blah, blah, blah. We're talking about get yourself somehow into the mindset of somebody with these parameters who might not want to be found. And this means that when you are driving along you're not necessarily going to see anything. Now, if we are talking circumstances of a potential road accident, of course, we should be keeping an eye out for any vegetation changes, so like flattened areas of grass or trees or things like that. That's a given. But if we're looking sort of down the avenue of somebody who's hiding, for example, without speculation, we have to consider what that might mean. And that obviously might mean that this person does not want themselves or the vehicle to be spotted from the road. And if we know of any properties that are vacant in rural areas, that's a huge one. Or any off-road areas that people can access that don't often access but are a potential, that's another one. Any outhouses, barns or sheds that might not be occupied, things like this. So it really is going to depend, I believe, on local knowledge, and my heart is like incredibly heavy knowing that I'm going overseas next week. I have not decided yet whether I'm going to keep working while I'm over there. It's just not ideal timing right now because I have been on active searches for 6 days in a row and I am like tunnel vision right now. So that's what I suggest you keep an eye out for. Let me just double check if there's any other questions before I run away. A couple of other areas just while I'm waiting here that have been covered are Jarrahdale and Serpentine bush trucks, but again, there's many that have not been covered. We've had a lot of Byford residential area also covered. Look, I'm going to finish up here and I'm going to address any other questions tomorrow and put them all together in a file so I can go through them one by one and also allow anyone to listen to this tonight. And if they have any remaining questions, I can also add those to tomorrow's episode. I also just want to note I do have one child at home sick at the moment, and that is obviously taking a bit of my time, but I am doing my best to balance everything, so please be patient with me when you are commenting or messaging or emailing or anything like that. I'm doing my best, so I really appreciate, honestly, like I have no words for these amazing people just out doing their thing without even being asked, being like, I've searched here and here. Like, this is exactly what I wanted out of this business and out of this podcast, because the power is with the people and we've got to look after each other. And I know, like, by seeing this, you guys doing this for a family you don't know brings comfort to others in great amounts. So you guys are super amazing and I love you so much. And the amount of messages that I've had being like, you're doing great, like, I love you. You make my day, week, month, year. Like, thank you so much. It gives purpose to our work and it's the reason we do it. So thank you guys a lot. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have enjoyed it here. If you have, you can stay up to date across all of our social media platforms and you can find our Facebook group link in the podcast notes. As always, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe.